So this recording is about worker time off. So you have a worker, they put in a time of request, which is managed by a time of event. The time of event has an effective date, which is usually the start date, and then a time of end date, and then any number of days on it. Then the time of entry itself has a time of date, a specific day. It has a status based on the approval status, obviously time type, whether it's absences or it's a sickness. The total units in days, or you can get the total unit. You can get the total units in whatever unit's been recorded, if that is hours, or you can get a unit in days, so it converts it to days. So it's got both hours and days. And then it's got some interesting set of fields. It's got time of balances for time of entry as of time of entry date. So based on this date, based on this time type, you might have a balance. I mean, the remaining hours of sickness or absences. So those are the main objects. So the main objects really work at the time of event and the time of entry. The main reporting object for analytics, of course, is going to be here. Is the time of entry. We access that by the data source time of all statuses for active and terminated workers. And the important piece is that it is indexed. That's the cool part. So now let's have a look at a report we have for that. So here we have a report. I've done some filtering. It's filtered on Adrian. I just filtered on Adrian between these two dates just to get off the time of, just to reduce the number of entries that we have here. And here we see that Adrian Martin has had an absence request. The effective date of that is the 17th till the 18th, and that's it's approved. This is a vacation request. The time type is vacation in hours. The time of date, therefore, is the 17th, and it's 8 hours. Now, if you go open up this request, the time of event, you will see that it has those 2 days, right? So it has the 17th and the 18th. So there was one event that requested 2 days. I think that's important to remember that. Okay. And then if you go down here, you have another block, essentially a whole block from the 6th to the 10th. And so from the 6th to the 10th, Adrian requested time off for a number of days. So from basically Monday to Friday, a sensible week. And the interesting part here is, right, so we had a look at all of this, and then obviously here's the balancing. Now the sort order is not so cool, but anyway, here's the time of date is 6, so he requests 8 hours, and at the time for that, on this day, time of date, he had a balance of 76 hours. Now on the 7th, so there's the 8-hour request. It reduced the balance to 68, and so that's how this balance piece works. It reduces it based on the time of date. It's all pretty cool stuff, right, to report on time of statuses. Now, looking at the report itself, there's a lot of data on here, but I want to point out it's on the data source time of statuses, on the time of entry. And all the data really I have straight off time of entry, so the worker and the time of event itself. So that's that event that requested the time off. Then off the time of event, I take the effective date and the time of end date, right? So the start and end dates of that entire event, entire absence. Then here have the status, time of, time type, time of date, the unit of time, the number of units, and the balance. All right, so that's, how you can report off time of entries. Now, there's all of that is obviously linked together from worker. So from worker, you can get pretty much the same information if you go via the data source, workers for HCM reporting, you go via worker, via time of details to get to that information, to get to pretty much the same data. I'm gonna close this. So here I have, this is that absent request, so not the one I'm looking for, and not that either. And so here I've got time of request for worker, and here is pretty much the same information, but taken from the worker object for time of request. And so here you have those 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, the time of request, those 5 days for that absence request that we just had a look at. And you know the end date is the 10th is the last date. The status is successfully completed. And the total time off here now, you have obviously you have 40, right? Because you have all of those 8 hours. And that's the total time for the request, right? Not the time of entry. The time of entries only have the 8 hours. Now, when you have a look at this is built on Workers for HCM reporting, which has the worker as the primary business object. And it's accessing the information via time of request, right? So it's got the end date, the action event, time of entry statuses. So that's via the time of request. So that's from here via this, oh no, this is time of request, right? So sorry, we went down here to the time of event. So now one further one, this is the one I thought I was showing you, the worker time of entry. Now this is going from worker via time of details to the time of entry. And so if you go back there, again, you see worker, right? You see the time types, the vacation hours, and this is for 10, 9, 7, 7, 8, and 6, yeah. Pretty much the hours, the units that they've taken from every time of completed detail. Remember, this is now the time of entry, not the event. So you have the 8 hours, right? And you still have the same balancing information. And if you have a look at how this was done, now this hopefully is the one I said it was. Don't make me a liar. And it is Workers for HCM reporting, going worker and time of completed details. So I have taken the link, I've taken this link, time of completed details. All right, so that's pretty much reporting on time off for worker via the information that you can see on the event, the entry, and the worker itself.